Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on YouTube as well as on X. As always, I'm Bryson Carver, and first of all, coming to you from my hotel room. So, listen, my college program ended yesterday. It was an incredible journey. I think I'll talk more about that once I get home pretty soon. So I'll touch on that in the future. But as of right now, hotel room here in Florida. Listen, this is a weird show, because so much I did the show Monday and it's been a crazy week with the end of my program and all this. Haven't been able to put out a ton of content. So we're back today, pre-recorded show. As I always say, if there's anything in the world of sports that has happened, I'm aware of it, just not the time you're watching me. We're recording this a little bit after noon Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate everybody tuning in as always. But a ton has happened. We'll get into Knicks Celtics in about, I'd say, 15 minutes, because I really want to do a real sort of obituary on not necessarily the Warriors season so much as that series against Minnesota, and looking forward to the Warriors, my beloved Golden State Warriors, who went down in 5 without Steph Curry to the T-Wolves. Get to that in just a second. Knicks Celtics, touch on that. Something about Denver and the playoffs. They just played this unbelievably entertaining series. We've got a Game 7 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets coming up this weekend. That'll be a blast to watch. Winner will play the Minnesota Timberwolves and beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. Touch on that. Touch on some NFL scheduling stuff. The schedule came out yesterday. Some weird ones for some of these teams, some brutal breaks, some great breaks, and the fact Caleb Williams apparently did not want to be Chicago Bears. So some of those early draft rumblings last year might have actually had some merit to them. Get to those at the end of today's show. But first, my beloved Golden State Warriors. Well, they went down yesterday, or Wednesday night rather, by a final score of 121-110 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, about how I thought they would based on the circumstances of the previous 2 games. So the last time I came to you guys, it was Monday after the Game 3 loss. They lost by 5, competed with Minnesota down the wire, and at words of the T-Wolves, Jaden McDaniels took care of business. And I said, Game 4, all the marbles. You lose this game, your season's over. You're not coming back from 3-1, because all the reports had indicated, sources had told me, Steph will play Game 6 if it gets there. My mindset was, I don't think it's going to, because I don't think they have the horses to do it without Steph in a Game 5 in Minnesota. By the way, the Timberwolves, the way I saw it was, oh, shoot, Steph could come back Game 6. Let's just go and wrap this thing up now. We don't want no parts of that guy in a Game 6, which would have been on Sunday, with 3 days, which I thought was, even coming into the series, an interesting scheduling break that the NBA gave the Warriors. It would have been Thursday, Friday, Saturday off in between games 5 and 6. That, of course, did not materialize. The T-Wolves are getting ready for the conference finals. Give them props for its due. And Edwards had a great series as it pertains to distributing the ball, little inconsistent, turned the basketball over a little too much. I thought the best Timberwolves start to finish was Julius Randle. And I got to say this, I will just say this at the front end. From coming into the playoffs, especially after what he did to my team, my apologies, Julius Randle. I said famously, coming into the Lakers series, when I thought the Lakers would beat the Timberwolves, I said, listen, Julius Randle's next great playoff moment will be his first. He doesn't have them. He's been a bad postseason player. Well, maybe some of that was fit with the Knicks. It's not that, the Knicks are obviously a win away from the conference finals. We'll get to them, and Brunson is, holy cow, what a star. Superstar, rather. Maybe Randle just didn't fit with those guys in New York. So, he's been excellent. Triple-double threat, scoring 30 a night, shooting the basketball well from 3, just bullying guys down low and getting a little sort of close up mid-range. He's been great in that regard. So I thought he was great. And Edwards was really good distributing the basketball. The T-Wolves were great defending the perimeter. Not that there was much to defend without Steph Curry, but still they did a really good job on that front. Chris Finch is a really good coach. He's proven a lot to me in recent years. So kudos to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they deserve their love. I will say about them, just keeping it real on this show, in the 2 series they've won, against the Lakers in 5, against the Warriors in 5, I've come away from both series thinking way less of the team that lost to the Timberwolves than the actual Timberwolves. I don't think they played great A-plus level basketball in either of those series. I give them about a B-plus for the Lakers series and like a B-minus for the Warriors series, which would not have cut it if Steph had been there. That's what I want to touch on. Because, see, fair is fair. I said back in March, as a matter of fact, I won't be talking the Warriors for a little bit because they're done, and I say the next time I'll be talking about them is the offseason, consistently at least, is Last summer, let's go back to last summer. I said this was after the Warriors got clocked in the playing game against the Kings. I'm like, oh boy, this is. I said on the show, the dynasty as currently constructed is over. With Steph, Clay, Draymond, you're never winning a title with those three as your franchise pieces ever again. They moved on from Klay Thompson, a move that was very unpopular. I love Clay. God bless you, buddy. Warrior legend. Had no issue with it. At the price tag he was commanding, by the way, well within his right to command that, also within the Warriors' right to say, you don't hold the same value here that you used to from an on-court perspective. So they fill in the bench pieces. They bring in Buddy Hield. They bring in Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, who used to be at Timberwolves, right? Later as we approach the season, they added Dennis Schroeder. Like, they added some nice sort of ancillary pieces to this team in addition to the young guys. You had Pajemski. You had Jonathan Kuminga. You drafted Quentin Post. Like, the bench guys, the depth, were fine. I really don't have an issue with it at all. I'm just like, yeah, Steph's amazing. Draymond is the great catalyst that he is, and they don't have a second star, and they can't win the championship. They tried to make a Paul George trade happen. Hindsight, thank God that didn't materialize. They tried, apparently like crazy, to go get Lauri Markkanen. That didn't fall through because the Warriors didn't want to give up Brandon Pajemski. Now, Pajemski was actually really good in Game 5, but had a pretty brutal series against Minnesota, but I've seen improvement from him, particularly on the defensive end. So we'll see what happens from him. Couldn't get Lauri Markkanen. So as the season plays out, they get to a hot start, and then they're ice cold in the middle, play 500 basketball, and then we get to around January, February. I'm watching this team. It's like, I forgot what the record was. They were like 23-23. They were a 9-10 seed. I'm thinking this is going to be just like last year. You're going to get into the play-in tournament. Maybe you'll get in the playoffs. We're going to get clocked in the first round, and we're right back to square one. And then out of nowhere, the Golden State Warriors make a trade for Jimmy Butler. A trade where I was skeptical initially for a few reasons, in part because of how the Jimmy exit in Miami played out, in part because, is Jimmy still that same guy? Which, as we saw in this series, he is not. All of these things. What I said, and I ended up being proven correct on this, is the number one thing that the co-star for the Golden State Warriors has to do. You have to make offensive basketball easier for Steph Curry. And when you do that, you are unleashing an absolute monster. And that's what happened. Steph, over the second half, or not really second half of the season, post-Jimmy trade, averaged like 30 a game. He was great. It was back to old Steph again because he had someone to take a little bit of pressure off him at 37 years old. So you get to the playoffs, you finish the season hot, number one defensive rating in the play-in, you take care of the woeful Grizzlies, you knock out the Rockets in a hard-fought 7-game series, you go into this matchup against the T-Wolves. And my mindset was, I get Minnesota abused the lack of size with the LA Lakers. The LA Lakers don't have a Draymond Green who can A, defend the 5, and B, be able to get Rudy Gobert on the perimeter, and the pick and roll with Steph and Draymond was going to be unstoppable, and we really didn't get to see it. We saw it for 13 minutes. The Warriors had a 10-point lead for, in the second quarter, for what that's worth. I don't really know what much you can take from that. Steph's hamstring goes, and that's it. And I thought Jay Williams on ESPN had a great line yesterday. He said, you weren't asking, because obviously if the Warriors knew, if everyone knew that there was no chance Steph was ever coming back in the series, that was his last game, one was his last game of the season, we thought, okay, yeah, they're cooked. They're dead. Forget about him. My mindset was, just get one game. Get one game, Steph's back for game 6, and you see what happens. Jay Williams had a great line on ESPN yesterday. The Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, who's led 2 teams to the NBA Finals, 2020 and 2023. 2 teams that had talent, had Bam Adebayo. Tyler Hero was only healthy for one of those playoff runs. Wasn't a terribly talented basketball team relative to what we've seen come out of the East, or even come out of the West, and go to the Finals in June. Jay Williams said, you were not asked to win the war, Jimmy Butler. You were asked to hold the damn line. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Jimmy Butler, over the course of the next 4 games, in which the Warriors lost all 4, had 17 points in game. Let me make sure. Yeah, 17 points in game 2. Okay, Warriors really didn't need that. Timberwolves desperately needed it. Game 3 was great. Had 33 points, shot 46% for the field, and disappeared in the fourth quarter. I believe he went 1 for 7. Game 4, he had 14 points on 9 shots. I get cursed after the game. He was sick. I get it. You got to go down swinging in that spot, because if you can get it 2-2, game 5 is a no-pressure situation, and you get Steph back for game 6. And Jimmy Butler was not aggressive and did not have that proverbial dog in him to get the job done. And then game 5, Wednesday night, 17 points, 36% shooting. Pretty quiet game. I mean, more times than not, I was more impressed with Jonathan Kuminga. In Game 5, I was more impressed with Brandon Podziemski. Heck, even Draymond had his moments. Jimmy, aside from the first 3 quarters of Game 3, no show. Now, do I think Jimmy can be moving forward a great number 2 for Steph? Yeah, Jimmy's really never been a number 2 in his career, well, at least in his prime years. We're not talking about Chicago when he was the number 2 to Derrick Rose for a brief time. But in this stage of his career, can he be a great number 2 with Steph? I think we literally just saw it play out. We saw this team go 21-7, have the number 1 defense in basketball, beat a 2-seed Rockets team with Şengün and those guys. And that's something I wanted to hit on as well. Is folks saying that, this was never a championship team from the beginning. You're free to feel that way. I feel, others feel, yeah, they were good enough to win the title. The way they finished the regular season, the way their defense was playing great, the way Steph was playing out of his mind the last 2 months, 3 months of the season, I thought they could. And we'll never know. We'll never know. And people are like, well, I mean, come on now. How many of those Warriors runs? I heard, you know what? I'm going to name drop. I'm going to name drop on this show right now because I know he's watching. My friend, my colleague, the founder of this very network, the Grid Network, and the co-founder of, the co-founder of the Grid and the host of the All Evan podcast, Barry Grant Jr. Subscribe to his show. He did a great interview, by the way, recently with Jamal Bowman, former congressman. Shout out to Barry. All the love in the world. But I heard him say this on his show, which actually I believe came out today, is that, well, it's the Warriors' first time, dealing with losing their best player and having a potential title run derailed by injury after they were the beneficiaries of other teams dealing with injuries. And that was a big reason that the Warriors went on the run that they went on. And there's even a stupid meme going around the internet where basically what it is, matter of fact, let me pull it up here so I can get this right because it was horribly disingenuous. So it's a Hoops Nation is the one that I saw, and I love Hoops Nation, but they posted this. Okay. We would have won if we were healthy, Warriors fans. And then under it, it's got a picture of Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, Chris Paul, Jamal Murray, Ja Morant. Let's go one by one, and I won't take long on this because it doesn't take long to break down idiocy. Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving go down in the 2015 playoffs. Kyrie went down in that finals against the Warriors. And so the Warriors were playing Bron and Matthew Dellavedova and Timofey Mozgov. Bron was unreal in that series, but he had, we talk about Jags in the NFL, just a guy. Man, that Cavs roster was littered with Jags. Meanwhile, the Warriors were a 67-win team with the MVP of the league. I am one of the few Warriors fans, and this probably won't be popular in Dub Nation, but I'll say it anyway. I think the Warriors would have lost that series if the Cavs were healthy. I think the experience of LeBron, I think obviously the inexperience for the Warriors, but they struggled with a beat-up Cleveland the first 3 games of that series until Steph goes off he had a good Game 4, great Game 5, Game 6, averaged 26 a game, more than his regular season average. Point is, Warriors turn around, Iguodala in the starting lineup. Iguodala won Finals MVP by holding LeBron to 35, 14, and 9, and the Warriors won the title. I think that's canceled out if then the Warriors are healthy in the 2016 finals. If Steph isn't injured, if Andrew Bogut, their number 1 rim protector, doesn't go down, if Iguodala can barely jump, he's got so bad of a back, and most notably, if Draymond Green does not get an absolutely bogus Game 5 suspension. I've been critical of Stephen A. Smith in recent months. Stephen A. Smith has the line of the century on that it was a stimulus package by Adam Silver. It was. That Draymond Green, what he did in Game 4, and by the way, in retaliation to LeBron James, was not a suspendable offense. Whatever. I think we would have won in 2016 healthy. I think the Cavs would have won in 2015 if healthy. So whether Love or Kyrie are hurt in that 2015 run, I think it's canceled out. Cavs win in 15, Warriors win 16. Instead, it was the other way around. Kawhi Leonard in 2017. Okay. Kawhi was starting to ascend into, I think had already ascended into being a superstar in this league until Zaza Pachulia, who just slides, I think very intentionally given Zaza's history, slides his ankle under Kawhi. Kawhi turns his ankle, doesn't play the rest of the series, ends up getting, I think, a much-needed rule change in the NBA. You got to give the shooter landing space, which I love. It protects the shooter. Great. You do realize the Warriors won 67 games that year, had 2 of the top 3 players on earth. Oh, by the way, more like 4 of the top 15 players on earth on their roster. And after dusting the Spurs without Kawhi Leonard, they took out the defending champion Cavs with LeBron having the best finals of his career in 5 games. You really think the Spurs would have beaten them? With no Tony Parker who was hurt, and old Monty Ginobili, a LaMarcus Aldridge who was notorious for choking in the playoffs. Shout out Greg Popovich, just the man. I know he retired recently. That team had no chance to beat the Warriors in 17. If the Cavs couldn't beat them during the finals, I know the Spurs couldn't have. The Warriors wouldn't have swept them. It would have been a 5-game series. Chris Paul in 2018. So Warriors were down 3-2 when Chris Paul got hurt in Game 5. Obviously blew him out in 6. Rockets missed 1,000,000 threes in Game 7. Warriors beat him there. The way Chris Paul was playing, I might buy that the Rockets would have won this year. I might buy that, if not for 2 reasons. A, Steph Curry owns the Rockets the way LeBron owns the Raptors. 5-0 against Houston in the playoffs. And number 2, I don't know, the next year, Chris Paul was healthy, James Harden was healthy, and the Warriors were without this guy named Kevin Durant, and it did not matter. The Warriors still took out the Rockets. And by the way, you have faith that James Harden would have closed that series even with a healthy Chris Paul? Stop. Let's not be disingenuous here. Jamal Murray got hurt, ironically, against the Warriors in a regular season game in 2021, missed the 2022 playoffs when the Nuggets played the Warriors. I don't know. Would they have obviously had a better chance with playoff Jamal? Yes, but that does not just apply to the Warriors. It's not like he got hurt against the Warriors in the playoffs or during that season right before they played the Warriors. That affected the whole West, not just Golden State. That benefited the entire West, not just the Warriors. And finally, this is the one I got a kick out of the most. Because in this little meme here, it shows John Morant when he got injured in the second round in 2022. Yes, because the Memphis Grizzlies, led by the most immature player I've seen this decade, and by the way, with Dylan Brooks and Jaren Jackson, Mr. Foul Machine himself. Yeah, that team was going to knock out the Warriors. That's a good one. That's a good one, my friends. By the way, do we remember that the Grizzlies that year were actually better without John Morant? With Tyus Jones as the starting guard. I remember doing segments on my show. They're actually better without Ja. The Warriors still took them out. Yeah, Memphis was going to take out the Warriors. Please. So all of this, the Warriors season is dead. They're done. And listen, I think based on the reports I'm hearing right now, because I know there's the reports, the Warriors might be tied to Giannis. How are they going to get him? Listen, I'd be over the moon. I'd be over the moon if we landed him. I think Giannis is the second best player in the world. How are we going to land him? Jonathan Kuminga, Brennan Pajimski, and what's left of our draft capital after the picks that we gave Miami for Jimmy? We're not moving Jimmy. By the way, nor should we. First of all, we're tied to him financially. B, he was good with us as the number 2 guy. Clearly, he can't get one game against the woeful Timberwolves, but whatever the case may be, he's a great number 2 next to Steph. The Warriors' approach is, and reportedly what it should be, getting a couple athletic wings and a big. I've heard they're interested in Brook Lopez. I've said I'd be totally happy with a Steven Adams acquisition, especially after what he did to us in the Houston series. I'd love to bring Steven Adams in as a great screen guy for Steph. Whatever the case may be, the Warriors are like, we're going to get more athletic on the perimeter. That's how the modern NBA is. We know we can shoot. We got the greatest ever to do that, and we're going to get a little bit bigger. Got no problem with that. The only concern is Steph Curry's going to be 38. Draymond, I think, is going to be 36. I think Jimmy the same. Steph's going into year 17. So we'll see. I do think the Warriors are a contender next year if healthy, but they do have to fill in a couple of holes on this roster, particularly being more athletic on the wings, getting a little bit bigger. And so we'll see how it plays out. But to say the Warriors were never a title team, I think they were a title team. The reality is we'll never know. And that's where it's at. But people saying, the Warriors getting a taste of their own medicine. We do realize, again, injuries hurt the Warriors in the 16 finals and literally killed them in the 19 finals. That's what people forget. What about the 15 finals when they beat the beat-up Cavs? What about the 19 finals when the Raptors beat a shell of the Warriors? It was a hurt Steph, a really hurt Clay, a beat-up old Iguodala, no Kevin Durant, a Kevon Looney who could barely raise his arms in the air. Like, come on, let's... And by the way, every champion in history gets lucky with injuries because they themselves have to be healthy. Let's stop being disingenuous here. Continue now, shifting now to what has been just a I guess roller coaster series would probably be the right way to put it. Not because it's right now it's 3-2 Knicks, with the Knicks being up on the Boston Celtics, the defending champions, but in that we came in, it's been a roller coaster in this sense. We came into the series, I think most of us, even a lot of Knicks fans, were like, and Boston swept us in the regular season. They beat us by 16 points per game on average. They smoked us, basically. Remember opening night, just annihilated the Knicks. They're the defending champions. They've got home court. As good of a story as the Pistons were, the Knicks struggled at times with the Pistons. The Pistons could have easily won that series. Boston dusted Orlando like they should have. They're healthy. Game one, they're blowing out the Knicks, and the Knicks come back from 20 down the second half. And in game two, they're blowing out the Knicks again, and then the Knicks come back again on Jalen Brunson's clutch gene once again. And Tatum comes up small. And then game three, the Celtics continue to shoot a million threes, and they make half of them, blow them out in game three. Game four, which was one of the most entertaining games of this season, go back and forth. Tatum was magic in the first 3.5 quarters, dropping 42, and then his Achilles goes. I tell you, these injuries in these playoffs, even the season, if you want to go back to Kyrie Irving's Achilles tear a few months back, have been devastating to watch. You talk about Kyrie's Achilles, Damian Lillard tearing his, Tatum tearing his, lesser degree Steph with his hamstring. Like, just these injuries have been brutal to watch. Even KD got hurt at the end of the season. It sucked. So Tate, first and foremost, prayers for Jason Tatum. He's a speedy recovery. Listen, this is a guy who's in his mid-20s, thankfully, as it pertains to his recovery. He's been having a great stretch. Listen, I've been critical of him as of late, and I still stand by that as it pertains to his fourth quarter play. But I've never questioned he's been great in big games, maybe not fourth quarters, but big games in his career. He is a champion. He is a gold medalist, multi-time, by the way. The guy is an excellent basketball player, and I hope he recovers quickly. I think he will be back better than ever. Achilles surgeries have gotten better over the course of the last few years. The reason we've seen, like, people maybe point to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. Kirk Cousins is another guy who's struggled post-Achilles. Kirk Cousins is mid-30s and was never mobile to begin with. And so a guy like Tatum, athletic, he's going to have great medical staff around him with this rehab. My guess is we're probably not going to see him similar to Dame until October of 2026, which just sucks. But we'll talk about the Celtics more as it pertains to their future after I think their season's going to end tonight in the Garden. And by the way, the atmosphere in that place, Game 6, Friday night, Madison Square Garden. I don't think the Knicks have won a series, closed a series out at MSG in the 21st century. I know this. They've never played a bigger game in the 21st century. The last finals Knicks went to was 99, lockout shortened season. Duncan and the Spurs won their first title. It's the best team they've had since then. And I want to talk about Jalen Brunson because, Lord have mercy, this guy is, just when you think he can't get better, he somehow raises the bar. This is a guy who, in this series against the Celtics, we can pull this up here, has averaged about 26 a game, has been efficient. In the fourth quarters of these games, though, folks, he's averaging 8 points a game on shooting splits of 50-58. Shooting 85% is pretty good for the free. Is actually really good for the free throw line. It's not amazing. Man is shooting 58% from 3-point range. He's making half his shots from the field. And then in the pivotal game 4, man, if the Celtics win that one, and then if Tatum is healthy, boy, the momentum swings completely the other way. Knicks blow 2 games at home, including a close game 4. Now it's back to Boston. The champs have 2 of the next 3 on their home court. Man, the Knicks are in trouble. And Jalen Brunson says, get out of my way, get on my back, and I'm taking y'all to the finish line. Unbelievable performance. If we could show his numbers. Jalen Brunson in the pivotal game 4 to beat Boston, to take a commanding 3 games to 1 lead. If we can pull up his numbers here. Sorry, it's a little slow here. Drops 39, 12 points, 5 assists, shoots 14-25 from the field. I've called Tyrese Halliburton Mr. Clutch because he shoots 10 of 11 on game-tying or game-winning shots this regular season, which is just insane. Jalen Brunson's right in his heels. And the reality is, as long as the Knicks take care of business, we're going to get the 2 most clutch players in basketball squaring off head-to-head in the Eastern Conference Finals. Listen, Pacers-Knicks is probably not what we thought we would get. I think that will be a blast of a series to watch. And so the Knicks got to wrap it up tonight. I think they will. Listen, Jaylen Brown is fully capable of having a big-time performance, but the problem with Boston right now is obviously three-point shooting has been an issue consistently throughout this series, but I don't think we're giving this enough. And we'll talk about this more once Boston season ends. This Porzingis thing is not getting the attention it deserves. I mean, the guy in Game 5 on Wednesday night, Celtics blew out the Knicks, did what they were supposed to do, kept their season alive at home. Kristaps Porzingis in this game played 12 minutes and scored 1 point, 0 for 3. And he's had this virus, this illness thing, this mysterious illness that's been plaguing him for the last few months, according to Joe Mazzulla. I would be very surprised if this is not Porzingis' final season as a Knick. I don't even know what this. I'm not going to speculate the health situation that Kristaps is going through right now, but it is bizarre what's going on with this. It's not an injury. And we know Kristaps has an injury history, but this weird virus thing that's forced him to play like 15 minutes a night, like that's limiting Boston. Listen, Jaylen Brown is capable of being your best player any given night, but can he be that consistently throughout the playoffs? We've never really seen that from him. And so, listen, I'll say this as well. In the event Boston wins tonight, I think it's on the board the Knicks still win Game 7. Because I will guarantee you, if the Knicks in what is, again, billed as the biggest game in Madison Square Garden in the 21st century, if they find a way to lose that game, the whole narrative, it will be Panic City in New York. Oh my God, we're screwed. Oh, the season's falling apart. I think they'll turn around and win Game 7. If there's one team I do not trust at home in the playoffs, it is these Boston Celtics. They're not a good home team. You go back to the second round, 2022, against the Milwaukee Bucks. 2-2 at home. Against the Miami Heat, Eastern Conference Finals. 1-2 at home. They were not a good home team throughout the course of that playoffs. Against my Golden State Warriors in the finals. 1-2 at home. That's just, again, continue on from there. 2023, 2-2 at home. In the conference semifinals against the Philadelphia 76ers. The conference finals against the Miami Heat. They were 1-3 in those games at home in the Garden. Now, last year they were great at home. But this year, you turn around. Now you're a 1-2 at home against the Knicks now. So I think if they go back to Game 7, I still think the Knicks win. I think Brunson's not going to let those guys go down and blow a 3-1 lead. I just don't think he'll let them do that. And so he's gotten help. Mikal Bridges has been awesome defensively in the series, the Iron Man of the NBA. Cat has been not consistently good. He had a bad Game 5, but Cat's been a double-double machine every night. OG's been great. So this Knicks team, and by the way, Thibodeau is, I think, pretty much guaranteed, long as the Knicks wrap this up. Thibodeau's not losing his job. So this has been a fun series to watch, a fun team to watch. And listen, I know it might not be the greatest thing for the NBA if like the Celtics aren't in the conference finals, which feels like they're in it every year. But you got New York, the Knicks, you got the Brunson story. Haven't won a title since 1973. I'm telling you, I think they wrap it up tonight. Even if they don't, I think they win Game 7. That's where I'm at in the New York Knicks. And what has been an unbelievable series, but the biggest downside by far is the Tatum injury. And again, nothing but the best for Jason Tatum. Prayers for him, a speedy recovery, and hope he's back. And I believe he'll be back better than ever. Be back after the break on Carving It Up Live to discuss the Oklahoma City Denver Nuggets series, which is going for the second time in a row for Denver to a decisive 7th game. We'll also touch on some NFL scheduling stuff and Caleb Williams after the break. to Carving Up Live. So this Denver OKC series, I was actually, my last day at work here at Disney, I went out with a bunch of my coworkers. We had a great time at one of the local sports bars around town. Miller's, really good. And we were watching, well, we were chatting up, having a good conversation, but they had a bunch of playoff games on, NHL, NBA. Obviously, I had my eye on the Denver OKC game, which was, again, one of the more entertaining games of these playoffs. The OKC was able to win and take a 3-2 series lead, 112-105. SGA was brilliant in that game. We show his numbers right here, 31 points and 7 assists with 6 rebounds. And the Jokic on the other side, I am, and by the way, Denver won like last night, but I want to kind of start with game 5. I am, even for as inconsistent, weirdly inconsistent as Jokic has been in the series, where he was unreal in game 1, not that good games 2 through 4, and then was, again, magic in game 5. Nikola Jokic in game 5. This is insane. 44 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 17 to 25 from the field, 5 for 7 from three-point range. He was magic in that game. Hit the turnaround that just, I'll tell you, it is, they make memes out of it for a reason. It's over, or at least you're in trouble when it's into the shot clock, late fourth quarter, and Jokic is beyond the three-point line, guy right up in his grill, and he just turns around and just like over his head, like he's just like throwing a boulder or something, and it swishes. Like, that's when you're in trouble. And the Thunder, to their credit, Jalen Williams had a massive 3. SGA followed suit. And then in game 6, obviously last night, where the Nuggets were able to win, get the series back to OKC for a game 7. Jamal Murray was really good. 25 points, 9 of 19. Jokic only took 14 shots and still dropped 29, 14, and 8. The funny thing I've always talked about with this player, with Nikola Jokic, and I remember talking about him, or we're talking about this when the Nuggets were in the finals against Miami 2 years ago, is there, obviously, there's no defense to stop this guy. He's so versatile. He can do so many things. There's no defense to stop him. The best chance at doing it, this is going to sound crazy, and I alluded to this during the finals 2 years ago. The best way to beat a Jokic team is for him to have a performance like he had in game 5, as opposed to what he had last night. In game 5, when he is, the rebounds are the rebounds. He's he's going to get rebounds. The 44 points, oh my gosh, the crazy shots, 5 assists. That's the way to beat him. Where he could drop 60 on us tonight. He did that against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who knows, we could see a playoff rematch between those two. That's a kind of a fun rivalry in the Western Conference now. But he could drop 60 against us. But if he's a playmaker, if Aaron Gordon's hitting shots, if Jamal Murray's hitting shots, MPJ, he will give you what he can give you. He's clearly just battling through a ton of pain in that shoulder. If Westbrook gives you something in terms of perimeter shooting, Christian Brown, a lot harder to beat. And if you look at that, again, kind of a balanced stat line. Jokic, again, took 14 shots, got to the line 12 times, but took 14 shots in that game, scored 29. Jamal Murray gave you 25. Christian Brown, big-time boost, gave you 23 and 11. Brown was great in this game, okay? You look at Aaron Gordon only gave you 5, but Aaron Gordon throughout these playoffs has been probably, again, the 3rd most clutch player behind Halliburton and Brunson throughout this postseason. He's going to show up in a decisive game 7. And so, again, Porter Jr. is battling 3 injuries. He'll give you what he can give you. Westbrook's capable of hitting the corner 3 from time to time. That's when they're at their most dangerous. I will take 44 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists from Jokic over 29-14? Yeah, 29-14 and 8 all day long. Because the 8 assists on up with the 30-ish points, that's where he's dangerous. That's where he will kill you. Where I'm scoring down low, I'm hitting threes from the perimeter over guys, throwing boulders over my head. And then I'm also driving it, backing guys down, kicking it to Jamal Murray, or we're running the best 2-man game in the league, Murray, Jokic. This team is on paper, you're like, okay, Jokic is amazing. Murray's been great in the playoffs. Gordon's a wing. After that, you're like, old Westbrook, who's had his moments, good and bad. Julian Strawther, Christian Brown has improved a lot. I really liked Brown a lot at Kansas. They don't really have depth. They fired their coach. They fired their GM. And if they find a way to win a game 7 against a 68-win Thunder team with the MVP of the league, they're back in the conference finals for the 2nd time in 3 years. And they are, I think, a very live. Listen, we'll touch on that. If the Nuggets are able to win Game 7, which I'm conflicted because I picked OKC to win this series because I think they're a better basketball team. I know Jokic is better than SGA. SGA is my MVP. MVP best player, two separate things. That's what the Jokic fans seem to have trouble comprehending at times. But on the other side, it's like, dang. As great as SGA has been in this series, and I called him out for Game 3, and he has responded massively. Man, I know it's at home. Backs against the wall. I think SGA is going to be great. I think SGA, listen, as much as the foul baiting drives me absurd watching him, it's the James Harden school of ticky-tack basketball. SGA is going to do his thing. He's going to give you 30 points. He's going to be great from the mid-range. He's going to get to the free throw line in non-ticky-tack ways. Jalen Williams has stepped up in this series. Do I trust Chet Holmgren? Do I trust, Caruso's a good role player. Do I trust him in a big Game 7 against a champion? Do I trust, what's my man's name? The big Hartenstein? Do I trust him in a big Game 7 at home? Again, Game 7, there's pressure. I feel like there's intensely more in OKC than Denver just because they are the 1 seed, 68 wins, MVP of the league. By the way, never won a championship. The Thunder have it. The Supersonics' last title was back in 79. That was the pre-NBA dynasty era, frankly, in the modern era. I think all the pressure is on them. Whereas for Denver, it's like, man, we went through a pretty turbulent season. We fired a lot of people. And here we are. We're a win away from the conference finals, and we've got the best player. And if we win this series, we've got the best player start to finish. We think we can win 2 in 3 years. Without great depth. With a coach who has been in the job for a month. Give me Denver in Game 7. I'm doing it. I know I picked the Thunder in this series. Give me the Denver Nuggets in a Game 7 at OKC. I'm calling it now. I get the Thunder's depth. I get that role players are better at home than on the road. I understand that. But there's certain athletes, folks. We've seen this when LeBron has been overmatched in series. We've seen when Steph has been overmatched in series. Going back to the day when Jordan, this was very rare. But sometimes the rare occasions when Jordan's teams were overmatched in those series where it's just, guys, even Brunson has done it against the Celtics, who I think still are a better team than the Knicks. Get on my back, and I'm taking you there. Sometimes sports really just is as simple as that. We've seen great quarterbacks do it. We saw Brady do it countless times with the Patriots. We've seen Mahomes do it on a few occasions. Elway used to do it back in the day. Like certain guys, this is the moment. We're going to meet it. Fellas, I trust you guys, but get on my back. I'm going to carry us to the finish line. I'm not saying Denver's going to win the title. The way that this series has gone, though, I get OKC has won 2 close games, 4 and 5. I get that. I still, though, late game, money on the line, Game 7, even in OKC. There's a championship DNA, playoff Jamal Murray, and there's also a level of, man, Denver. If you're Denver, we were in this exact same scenario 1 year ago. The only difference is it's on the road as opposed to home, but we were in a Game 7 in the second round. We had a 20-point lead, and we blew it. Blew it. And Edwards didn't even have a good game. Rudy Gobert's hitting fadeaway shots on the baseline. Blew it. I think that's going to fuel the fire. I don't think they forgot that. And I think Jokic gives you a masterpiece. I'm thinking 36, 16, and 11. I'm 36-point triple-double. Jokic takes it home. I know I picked OKC in the series. I'm switching it. Game 7. Give me the Denver Nuggets. The championship mentality, championship DNA carries them to the finish line. That's what I've got. Shifting out of the NFL, because the schedule came out on Wednesday. It's been a great week in sports. With the playoffs, schedule came out. I thought there was a couple teams that got a pretty rough. Listen, we knew the opponents who they were advanced, so it's not the opponents so much as it is when they play them. I thought not that I thought they were going to be a great team to begin with. I thought the Dallas Cowboys got a brutal schedule because, early on at Philly on opening night, I said on the show, don't be that shocked if old Ryan Dakota Prescott and how he's owned the Eagles in his career can pull a shocker. Eagles are way better, but don't be shocked. Then it's Giants, Bears, who I do like this year, Packers, okay, Jets, Panthers are frisky. Watch out for old Bryce Young and the Panthers. Washington, Denver. midseason, Raiders, Cardinals. Week 12 through 17 is hell for Dallas. And by the way, with a roster that I've said since 2022, not great. Dak mostly carries them. Here's week 12 on for the Dallas Cowboys. Home for Philadelphia. Home for the Kansas City Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. At Detroit on a short, sorry, that's not short. That's Thursday night, but that's a week after Thanksgiving. At Detroit. Home for Minnesota. I think they should win that game. Home for the Chargers. Dak does own Herbert, so there is that. But the Chargers are a way better football team and way better coach team. At Washington on Christmas. That's brutal. Now, I'm not nearly as high on Minnesota as some because I'm not that high on J.J. McCarthy. But after that, the Chargers were a really good team last year, got better. Commanders were an NFC title team, got better. Philly's the defending champions. Kansas City is the dynasty of the league. You sprinkle in a little Detroit Lions, best offensive league in there. How are we going to survive that? So for Dallas, man, it is imperative that the Cowboys, you know what it reminds me of a little bit? You remember when the schedule came out last year for the Steelers? And everybody looked at it and they were like, Pittsburgh better get off to a fast start because the last bit of the season, it's Ravens and Bengals twice and Philly. And it was a brutal stretch for Pittsburgh. Better get off to a hot start. And the Steelers did get it to a hot start. And the second half of the season, they still crumbled and fell apart and did what the Steelers tend to do in December. And that's get figured out quickly offensively. But that's how I feel about Dallas right now, where it's Detroit, Philly, Kansas City, Chargers, Washington. Minnesota's tough, but I still think Dallas should beat Minnesota because, again, I'm not a McCarthy believer. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not a McCarthy believer. So I thought Dallas got a brutal break as far as scheduling goes. I also think, not in terms of opponents so much as it is how it was scheduled, Kansas City got a rough break in the sense that, again, they got to go to Sao Paulo to play the Chargers on the opening Friday night game, which I think the NFL is going to start doing. Had the opening game on a Thursday. That game's going to be on YouTube, by the way. It's going to be the first, I think, NFL game that's streamed basically for free on YouTube. We better not have crashes like we did with the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. I know that was Netflix, but nonetheless, streaming depends on the day. But then they turn around and play Philadelphia. And then they got the Giants. Okay, Baltimore. Kansas City has multiple Thursday night games. They have a Friday game, a Monday night game. Listen, the Chiefs are the America's team in the NFL now. They're the most popular team. They're the most popular player. They're the dynasty. Taylor Swift is involved. Like, they're the most popular team. They're America's team, not the Dallas Cowboys. But there's a level of, and we saw it last year with the weird Christmas schedule and all of it, where I get the NFL wants to put them on TV as much as possible, as they should. As they should. They're Kansas City. You want to put Philly on as much as possible. Dallas, just because they're the Cowboys on. You want to put the Ravens on, the Bills on. You want to put these teams on television. At Washington, at the same time. Brady used to hate this. As many primetime games the Patriots got, because just schedule me at 1 o'clock, or at worst case, the 4:25 game, big game on CBS with Nance and Sims or Romo, whoever, calling it. The Sunday night games, we play the game, then it's a quick turnaround to Monday morning. Brady used to hate those games. I don't imagine Mahomes is crazy about them, especially playing on a Friday, multiple Thursdays. I think the Chiefs got a pretty brutal break. I'll tell you who do not get a brutal break. The San Francisco 49ers. Now, their schedule was easy coming in. But let's just look at this for just a moment. San Francisco's schedule. Okay? Week 1 at Seattle, divisional rivalry, but Kyle Shanahan has been very successful against the Seahawks in his career. At the awful Saints. Home for the Cardinals. Home for the Jaguars. At the Rams is tough. At the Buccaneers is tough. Atlanta. At Houston, okay. At the Giants. Rams. At the Cardinals. Panthers. Browns. Titans. Colts. Then he finished with the Bears in Seattle. That mid-stretch from mid-November on to mid-December is a cakewalk. The Niners roster is not what it was 2 years ago. It's not what it was. I think it might have been even better 3 years ago because their defense was the best in the league. If Brock, listen, I think he can at least do this. I'm a Brock Purdy skeptic. He's a good starting quarterback. If they can't win 12 games with this schedule, I don't know what to tell you. I think I saw something where it's like the easiest schedule in the NFL since the 2015 Falcons. I think went 8-8 that year, but whatever. It's the easiest schedule in a decade. So I think, listen, the San Francisco should take care of business. They should be a playoff team this year. I still contend, as I did a year ago, that the Rams are a better football team, a slightly better coach. I take McVay slightly over Shanahan. Obviously, Stafford's better than Purdy. That goes without saying. I think at this point, the Rams roster is better. They draft better as of late. Les Snead, I love John Lynch, but Les Snead's a better GM than John Lynch. And so I still think the Rams are a championship contender out of the NFC. They came closer than anybody to beating Philly without playing that good of a game. But San Francisco should cruise with their schedule. They should win 12 games this season. If they don't, man, Brock Purdy is, I think, even less of him than I should say that I think now. I don't think lowly of him. I just don't think as highly as everybody else does. But I did think they got a pretty brutal scheduling break. So that's kind of where I'm at. Listen, there's a number of schedules you could look at and say, I mean, I saw the Patriots are favored in like 11 of their 17 games. I don't think the Patriots are going to win 11 games. I love Vrabel. I like the talent of Drake May, and I like the offseason acquisitions. And the draft is solid as well. 11 games, a bit of a stretch because you're in the same division with Buffalo, but the Jets are perpetually a joke. The Dolphins are a joke, but 2 tiers above the Jets. We know the Bills run that division. If you told me the Patriots are second in the East, will not be shocked at all. If you told me they're in contention for the playoffs in Week 16, won't be shocked at all. I like their coaching staff. I've been a fan of Vrabel for years. May show me something last year. Again, it's hard to tell because he was not working with much. I don't know. Watch out for New England as a potential, the surprise playoff team in the AFC. We always get 1 or 2 teams in both conferences who are like, man, I mean, Washington's prime example. I'm not saying the Patriots are going to go to the conference championship game exactly, but there's always about 4 teams a year where like, man, didn't see them coming. And then another 4 teams where it's like, boy, they really disappointed. The Niners were like that last year. Wait, the Niners won 6 games? How'd that happen? We see it often in the NFL, and I think that's what we're going to see from the Patriots on the positive spectrum. I could see them winning 9 games this year, 10 games this year. Absolutely could. So we'll see. Just given the Buffalo's amazing, Miami's falling apart, and the Jets are, well, Jets. I could see New England being second in the AFC East and competing for a playoff spot in what is a stacked AFC. Could absolutely see it. So that's my take on that. There's also, this came out yesterday, in the last couple of days, about Caleb Williams. So full transparency, I have been a Caleb Williams fan since USC. I think the kid's talent is off the charts. I said coming in that draft last year, that is a generational prospect. Not quite to the level of like a Manning or an Elway, but a tier below that, yeah. Arm strength, mobility, moves around, pocket awareness, all of it, accuracy, all of it. I think he can change a franchise. Now, last year, had a okay rookie season, but by the standards of being the first overall pick, should have been better. Caleb had a very much a roller coaster. Got to a slow start, had a great middle of the season, tailed off, and then finished the season by beating Green Bay on the road. A fully healthy Green Bay roster, which I thought was impressive with an interim coach. I thought most of the problems with Chicago last year, by the way, was coaching, was Eberflus. We saw the ending of the Hail Mary game against Washington, disaster. We saw the ending of the Thanksgiving game against Detroit, in which Caleb played amazing. That was embarrassing by the coaching staff. And so I saw enough to say, okay, I think I'll be right in this guy in the long run. But a report came out, and this was from this article's from ESPN, but a new book came out recently by Seth Wickersham, who is one of the best journalists in America in sports. The book is called, I haven't read it yet, but the book is called American Kings, a biography of the quarterback. And it talks about how Caleb Williams' dad, Carl Williams, who, if you follow the Caleb Williams story, his dad, Carl, very much plays a major part in his career decisions on the field, off the field. And there's the exact quote they quote Carl Williams in saying is, Chicago is the place quarterbacks go to die. That in the early stages of the process, folks, Caleb Williams did not want to be a Chicago Bear. We knew they had the first pick by virtue of the trade with Carolina. Caleb Williams did not want to be a Chicago Bear. And the book went on to talk about Caleb Williams, quote, it says Caleb Williams wondered aloud to confidants, quote, do I want to go there? I don't think I can do it with former Bears offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. And the article continues. The forthcoming book to be published in September offers a detailed account of what it means to be a quarterback at various levels. It also talked about Kirk Cousins, Drake May. Okay. It goes on. The book offers an inside look at Williams' state of mind. Carl Williams went to great lengths to try and circumvent the NFL draft, Wickersham writes, wanting to give his son an opportunity to choose his future employer. The Bears have not drafted a star quarterback since the 1980s, and the recent star selections, Mitchell Trubisky and Justin Fields, didn't pan out. By the way, Bears haven't drafted a star quarterback since the 80s. I don't really consider Jim McMahon a star, but if, the headband and, he was on the 85 Bears. If you consider Jim McMahon a star, knock yourself out. I vehemently disagree. Point is, I don't want my son playing for the Bears, quote, Williams told several agents in 2024. The rookie cap is unconstitutional, he told Wickersham, later adding that the CBA is the worst piece of blank I've ever read. It's the worst in sports history. Caleb talked about this with his dad, his potential possibilities. At the Combine that year, Caleb met with Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell. The two hit it off, and Caleb Williams began to dream of what it would be like to play for Minnesota. Quote, I need to go to the Vikings, he told his father. Quote, let's do it, his father replied. But both Caleb and Carl knew that a trade to a division rival was extremely unlikely. Bears GM Ryan Poles stood firm, telling Williams, quote, we're drafting you no matter what. And then after a while, after a pre-draft visit to the Bears facility, Williams believed he could be a part of a process to turn the franchise around. Quote, I can do it for this team, Caleb told his dad. I'm going to go to the Bears. So Caleb apparently was strongly considering going the Eli Manning route and going the John Elway route. Famously, John Elway did not want to play for the Colts. His dad was a part of that and ended up as a Denver Bronco and ended up as one of the 5 greatest quarterbacks ever. Eli Manning, number 1 overall pick, 2004, did get drafted by the San Diego Chargers. Eli Manning, Archie Manning, did not want to be with the Chargers. They wanted to be the Giants. Well, Eli ended up with the Giants, ended up being 2-time Super Bowl champion. So am I saying that Caleb is going to be either top 5 all time? Well, I guess both Elway and Eli won 2 rings. Obviously, Elway's the greater quarterback, but I'm not saying this is going to mean Caleb is a 2-time champion necessarily. I think he can. I think given the moves the Bears have made this offseason and seeing that Caleb was so tight initially with tight's the wrong word, hit it off, as this book talks about, with Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach, who we know hasn't had the playoff success yet, but is a really, really smart offensive guy. If Ben Johnson is what I think he's capable of being, and we know he was a brilliant OC with Detroit, combine that with the offseason moves as it relates to the Bears' offensive line, combine that with the receivers they got with Roma Dunze and DJ Moore. They drafted Colston Loveland, the pass-catching tight end out of Michigan. They've got it. Defensively, they were solid last year. The problem is they couldn't score points. And some of that fell on Caleb. Some of that fell on the O-line. Some of that fell on bad play calling. Well, play calling's been fixed. O-line's been fixed. And I think Caleb Williams' play is going to be fixed. So looking at the Bears this season, and I know Caleb initially, listen, he didn't want to go there. And by the way, his dad, Carl Williams, is absolutely correct. Bears don't do quarterback very well. Jets don't do quarterback very well. Browns dang sure don't do quarterback very well. Certain franchises just can't get it right. But sometimes you just need this guy. You just need a generational, all-time prospect. And Caleb is that. He's got it. Listen, the only thing he doesn't really have is crazy size, but he's 6'2". He's not small. Matter of fact, Mahomes isn't crazy big. Neither is Lamar Jackson. Now, Joe Burrow is about 6'4". Josh Allen is a monster of a human being physically. But I think it is Caleb's got all the traits. There's the reason you saw the Mahomes comparisons. I'm not saying he'll be Mahomes because I think Mahomes is the 2nd greatest quarterback of all time that I've ever seen in my life. But with that being said, O-line they addressed. Ben Johnson, brilliant offensive coordinator. They made some good moves. I like their coaching staff. I'm telling you, folks, I think this is a team that is going to be – I don't think they're going to win the North. I don't think they're quite ready to overtake Detroit yet. I think Detroit's just more talented right now, and I think Detroit made some good moves to address their defense. But Green Bay is Green Bay. Green Bay is always going to be consistent, always going to be a playoff team. I think Jordan Love's going to take a step next year. I don't buy the Vikings next year because of McCarthy. I'm telling you, I talked about the Patriots. If they're 2nd place in the East, don't be shocked. If the Bears are 2nd place in the North, don't be shocked. Do not be shocked. I know I picked them to make the playoffs last year. I was wrong on that. They've upgraded drastically coach. They fixed their O-line. Joe Tunu is a great addition, getting him from Kansas City. I think we're about to see a year 2 explosion from Caleb Williams. I think we're talking no Bears quarterbacks at a 4,000-yard passing season. Knock on wood over here for Caleb's health. If he's able to stay healthy this season, I think he's going to be the first this year, 2025, first 4,000-yard passer in Chicago Bears history. So shout out to Caleb Williams. And listen, who's to say that this season could not be blessed in a different regard? Again, I mentioned it last week on the show. Pope Leo the 14th, Chicago guy. Just saying. It's good news for the Knicks because the Pope went to Villanova, and it's good news for the Chicago Bears. Just saying, you never know. But I'm not surprised that Caleb didn't want to go to the Bears. I get why, but he said, you know what? They said they're gonna take me. I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to turn this franchise around. And he made that call, and now with the moves the Bears have made, I think he's going to end up being rewarded for it. So watch out for Caleb Williams. Watch out for the Chicago Bears. I cannot wait to watch that team next year. Be one of the most interesting teams in the league. Last, real quick before we get out of here, last scheduling thing I did want to say, because I can't do a broad NFL discussion. Obviously, that one was more targeted toward the Bears. I can't do like a broad NFL scheduling discussion without bringing up my team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not even the schedule itself, like top to bottom, that I really wanted to hit on. I kind of wish the Steelers had played the Lions on Thanksgiving. That'd have been fun. Lions would have beat us, but would have been nice to see us playing Thanksgiving. I wish that wasn't a Week 16 game, but whatever. Week 1, 1 o'clock, CBS, on the road against the New York Jets. And I know the NFL is like, hey, we get Justin Fields, quarterback of the Jets, against his old team, the Steelers. Justin Fields started 6 games for the Steelers. By the way, it was fine. It went 4-2. I remember when he got benched for Russell, I was like, hey, keep Fields in there. He's done a decent job. He's been fine. He hasn't lost games. I mean, the Steelers did lose, but it wasn't really because of Justin. Whatever. That's not why they schedule Steelers Jets in Week 1, guys. Come on. NFL. Goodell. Be honest. Aaron's going to be a Steeler. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler. It's May 16th. He's still not officially a Steeler. It's probably going to happen in July so that... what do you want to bet? Mid-July, NBA playoffs are over. Baseball's and kind of their dead period. You'll have WNBA with Caitlin Clark, which, by the way, starts tomorrow. Let's go. WNBA season tomorrow. Let's go. Caitlin, Angel, y'all killed out there. You got Liberty Aces. WNBA, great job scheduling their season. And go Valkyries, by the way. Golden State Valkyries. Let's go. Let's get the job done this year. Anyways, I bet Aaron Rodgers signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers mid-July. Dead time in the sports calendar. WNBA will be a story. Baseball will be somewhat of a story. It's kind of the least talked about part of the baseball season. NBA offseason's over. Draft's over. Free agency's over. Maybe the honest trade happens around that time. Who knows? The Kevin Durant trade. But NFL's building up toward training camp. And bam, Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers. I cannot believe we're going to sign up for this clown show. This is going to be a brutal season as a Steelers fan. So I hate to end it on that. But that is all the time for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by as always. Be sure to catch Carving It Up on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time right here on YouTube as well as on X. Check out, again, I haven't been that active on social media as of late just because this week has been kind of crazy in terms of my personal schedule at the end of my college program, all of it. But I'm going to get that all, sort of taken care of. Still want to do the show today, talk about my Warriors, talk about the Knicks and Celtics and the NFL schedule. It's been a great week in sports. Not a great week for the Warriors. I would have loved to see Steph in a Game 6. But, it happens. Oh, injuries happen, We'll come back next year stronger and better. That's what I do know. All right, we'll see you guys soon. See you on Monday. Stay safe with everybody. God bless y'all. And, of course, peace out. Caitlin, Angel, take care of business tomorrow, ladies. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.